It's a fun one today. The internet is out here. So we're going to try this again, I guess. I am streaming from my phone in my office. We'll see how it goes. Chat is going to be kind of hard for me to see this old guy. So I'll see what I can do. But today's topic is built around hiring. And that's a real passion area for me. Um, one of the reasons, actually, one of the interesting things of how hiring became such an important thing to me was I ended up at a small insurance company, and they had only ever hired hourly wage workers. So the concept of hiring a salaried person and keeping up with the demands of an engineer's salary and expectations and growth plans and all those things was very foreign to that company. So I was unable to continue to support my engineers as they grew internally. So I ended up losing a lot of people because we just couldn't compete, because that's not how the executives wanted to run the company. So I had to figure out how to build a revolving door of hiring in really good, less experienced engineers, training them up, making them good, and then being at peace with them leaving because we couldn't compete with the pay. And rather than fight that, I just embraced it. So I got really good at the hiring process so that I could quickly find people that had potential and a future and a desire to be really good, because that was all we could afford. B, actually, A, that's all that we could afford. And then B, I had to be ready for a couple of years from that moment, once they were hired, for them to get a better offer and understandably walk out the door. So that forced me into figuring things out. One of the first things that I had to learn was how to work with recruiters. And that's where I see a lot of people fail. I see a lot of hiring managers or whoever it might be work with a recruiting company and underinvest with their time and energy. You have to invest with that person that's representing your company out in the wild. Number one, to make sure that they, like I said, represent your company well. B, understand what you're looking for. And then C, you have to continually refine that with them. There's so many folks that I know where they just hand a job description and then that's it. And they expect, hey, we're paying you to go find people. Here's 1,000 words. Go find someone that fits like that. Double trouble happens when that recruiter does the best they can with what they have, very little info, and comes back, says, okay, here, I have a candidate. What do you think? There's either no response, or the response is not a good fit, or no thanks. What's that recruiter supposed to do with that? If you're building a product, number one, you would probably want more than like 1,000 words on what that product's supposed to be, because otherwise you're kind of guessing at what you need to build. And then you would also want to be able to share your progress with that stakeholder and say, hey, what do you think? How am I doing? And hope they respond with a little bit more than nothing, or nope, not a fit. What do you do with that? What do you do with that feedback? So view your hiring process as a product. Treat it as such. Treat your recruiting partners as a typical agile team that's trying to build a product, trying to build the best thing they can for you, trying to deliver as much value as early and as often as possible. That only happens with feedback. Okay, chat's going to be a problem. I got to figure out how to do this, my friends. Can I go full screen here? That's the question. Oh, wait, here we go. Here we go. Orientation selection not available when live. Yeah, so for those of you that may be joining now wondering what the heck's going on, internet is out at my house, so I'm running this live stream on my phone. And that is unfortunately too small for me to read. I'm going to point you at the ceiling while I try and read it. Oh my God. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Hold on. Okay. But I lost the chat. Dang it. Well, whoever posted that chat, can you please repost? Because I at least have it. Oh, God. This is going to be good. I'm sorry for anybody that's out there that now has a headache, because I'm trying to stand this up on not the best support. You know, it's amazing. Oh, hi, Bob. Good to see you. Sort of, with my internet out. All right, we're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. Well, you know, when life gives you lemons, drink lemon water. This is not going well. It's okay. You're gonna crash and burn. Let's just talk about that. You're gonna crash and burn. You're gonna get some curveballs. You're gonna get internet outage 30 minutes before you have a planned stream, like your regularly planned stream, same time, same place every week. It's there, half hour before. Internet goes out. You scramble, try and figure it out, and you find out, yep, it's out. It's going to be down till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So options that ran through my head. Number one, it wasn't like, oh God, panic. It was, all right, well, what are my options? I thought about places to go. Where could I go? I didn't want to be an annoying jerk and live stream at like a coffee shop or something like that. So I couldn't think of anywhere close. I thought about, I could drive to my kid's school, sit in the parking lot, and live stream there, connect to the Wi-Fi. But then I figured somebody would come out, and that would be considered a threat. sitting in a large truck, talking randomly. So I opted out of that. I didn't want to cause a scene for myself or my kids, and just realized I could stream from my phone. Maybe not the best solution. A solution. But not the best. The controls and everything just aren't there. So, but luckily, turnout is relatively low. Not what I wanted, but I guess, you can't complain. You got to find the little wins here and there. And even worse, I have bifocals. So to see the small text on the screen, I've got to do the old look like that. So reading's hard. What other hiring topics? I see a lot of people struggle with hiring Scrum Masters. And my argument is Scrum Master hires are difficult because you don't do it that often. I remember the first time I hired a Scrum Master. I had hired hundreds of developers at the time, but never a Scrum Master. So I had this almost reflexive capability to hire somebody that was an engineer. Like I just knew, and I could usually tell after like 10 or 15 minutes whether this person had a shot. With Scrum Masters, I wanted to give it its fair shake, and I really struggled with that, about how to shape the interview in order to determine if this person was the right fit for us. Because I could just like mail it in and ask similar questions as a engineer or something like that, but I knew that wasn't going to work. That's not who we were. That's not who I was. So I had to call around, and I think I even reached out to Bob and asked how others went about hiring a Scrum Master, because I just wanted to get it right, and it was really important for us. It was a key role. It was more of an agile coach, so it was a very key role for us to make sure that we got right, trying to be as agile as possible. So that was one of those scary moments, and I think unfortunately many places don't invest in that way. When there's a new role, they don't hit the pause button and evaluate their hiring process to see if it's appropriate for that role, or do they just force candidates through an existing process that they have that is meant for something else. I see that too often, and that's unfortunate for both parties, actually. But you win some, you lose some. Well, you're going to lose a lot like that. I would normally say, are there any questions? And I do hope there are questions, but my capability to answer is going to be rather limited doing this on my phone and being able to see that. Let me see what I can do. I'm going to look at my ceiling fan for a minute. Oh my God. That's the worst. Does anybody, when they do like a FaceTime or something with their grandparents, or maybe your parents, do you find that they always end up looking like this? I can tell you why. Bifocals. I need to tilt my head like this to see the questions. So now you know. I'm trying to see your question. I lost your question because I tried to zoom in and the browser refreshed. Oh, hey, I got the little chat down here. Okay, cool. There's hope. There's hope. There's hope. So, Stephen, can you re-ask your question? Since I can't read it. Because the browser likes to refresh. I hope somebody randomly joins the stream. I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm never coming back to this thing again. Oh, it wasn't a question. It was a joke at the situation I'm in. All right. I think I can make this work. Yeah, well, that's okay. You're not missing much. Internet's out. Trying to stream on my phone. Stumbled and fumbled through it. So anyway, I want to probably shut it down for like sanity's sake. Ugh, man, that's all right. It's a good lesson learned. I don't know what the lesson is. Make sure your internet works. Have a backup plan. Have a better backup plan. I don't know. I'll think of something. I'm sure somebody in Discord will have a game plan for me. Always useful like that. So, okay. Well, Stephen and Bob, who showed up, thank you very much for hanging out. As always, I'm going to end our misery here with this live stream from a phone. I do not recommend it. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the man, the myth, the legend, Dusty? Oh man, these are good questions. Oh man, you guys are crushing it. Okay, so for the legendary Dusty, uh, Dustin Graham, I don't have any Tar Heel stuff on me. Dang it. Hiring managers. That is another thing that you're doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme split across two chairs while juggling your children. Yeah, hiring managers under you is something that you do even less than Scrum Masters. And that is a tricky one because you have to walk this very fine line of the old thing that we always talked about, alignment and autonomy. You want that hiring manager that's now going to be a part of your team to be aligned with you, but you also need to trust that their autonomy, because you have to empower that. Otherwise, the person is going to leave. You have to find that balance. And then you don't want to hire a carbon copy of yourself, because I've done that. And that's a dangerous situation to put yourself in, because it becomes an echo chamber and then you don't really evolve. So hiring managers, interestingly enough, what I ask hiring managers is how they hire. And first and foremost, I want to know that they have a plan, that it's not willy-nilly, that they have lessons learned, that they have refined their process, that they are evolving. I want to understand what their values are. Do they overlap? Not directly align with us, but do they overlap? Because that diversity is going to really help you. It'll make the road a little bit bumpy, but that diversity is really going to help you out as you evolve and grow, to have that different angle of how you look at things. One of the things that I've always tried to do when building a leadership team is have all the skills necessary for our teams to execute represented within the leadership team. So for instance, one of the times that Dusty and I were working together, we had directors that were from the QA side of the house, from the engineering side of the house, and then more from the DevOpsy side of the house, so that whenever anybody needed somebody to go upstream and ask difficult technical questions, we had somebody to represent that. But I didn't align all the DevOps under the DevOps director. It was, you have the person you report to, they are responsible for helping you level up, but they aren't going to have all of the answers that you need. But we do have somebody. We have somebody over here that you can go and get. So that's why it's really good to get the diversity and make sure, again, that they align on the core principles and values and how you attack the problems and how you care for and build teams. And then you want the diversity across different skills so that you can support all of the team members and teams that you have, because otherwise you're going to get cornered and only have experience in one area. And then there's a common issue that I've seen where hiring managers that come into an organization like the ones that I build, they put their experience on a shelf because they view this is a self-directed team. We need to let them figure it out. I don't want to step on their toes, all of these things. Yes, but we hired you for a reason. We hired your experience to add value to what we're trying to build and ship. So don't put it on a shelf. Use it. Figure out how to use it appropriately, because it is one of those very sharp swords that, if wielded properly, could be super effective. But if wielded willy-nilly, I can't think of any other word, in a willy-nilly manner, very descriptive. Probably see that used in a lot of historical books. If used in a willy-nilly manner, it's going to cause chaos. So that's a little bit about that. So salary ranges. I'm a huge believer in transparency. I do not like when I'm on the other side of the table and someone is unwilling. So I'm being hired and they're playing, what's that game with the shell? Like a shell game of like, well, you're going to have to figure out what our salary range is. I just hit that up front. I don't allow them to do a dance when I'm going through the hiring process. I hit that right up front because I don't want to waste anybody's time. Like, I don't want to get excited about a role. I don't want them to get excited about me and find out that, hey, the pay just isn't going to work. So I make it very clear that I don't want to negotiate. I want everybody to put their best foot forward and say, this is what we believe that you're worth. Forget what the salary range is, because I have gone back and fought for extra money for specific roles, or I've been in a position where I can move money around to take care of that. So I like to make that as transparent and as early a part of the discussion as possible. One thing that I won't do is, if we're hiring for a specific role and we already have 5, 6, 7, 8 people that are in that role, and we get somebody that's as good as them, not heads and shoulders better, but is as good as them, which is great, and they're asking for 10, 20K more, I won't do it, because it's not fair to those folks that have been there pouring everything they have to have somebody come out of nowhere and make that much more. Now, what that does do is that triggers me to, okay, do I have a competitive pay issue where I'm underpaying these people? And then usually what you end up having to do is you end up having to eat a head count. So rather than hiring that other person, you're going to probably have to use the money that was allocated for that next person to bump up the pay for the existing people that you have. That's a choice you can make. A lot of people won't like that choice, but I would rather invest there than know that I'm underpaying my team that I know are good, that I know are valued, that I know I can count on, and having them discover that on their own because they're freaking smart people and decide to leave because they realize they're underpaid. So that's a choice that I would make. Board of directors wouldn't like it, blah, 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 whatever. But that's the choice that I would make, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot replacing those people. And that's not a good way to spend your time. Dusty, anything more on hiring leaders? Hiring leaders is tricky. That's where I really lean into that question of, or build a scenario where I know they're right and I tell them that they're wrong, because I need to know how we're going to debate things, because it's going to happen. And I need to understand that this person can work through that with me and with the rest of the team. Because when you do bring in another strong personality, which leaders usually are, that just comes with the territory. So you have to really validate, really ensure, feel comfortable that as this diversity creates the conflict, which is good, of I think we should go this way versus I think we should go this way, or we did it this way at my last job, and we're doing it this way here. You have to know you're going to be able to work through that with that group, because otherwise it's just going to get gross and messy and no one's going to be happy, and it's just a disaster. So having strong dialogue, debate skills, and level-headedness when we're just going to highlight that show. That's okay. That's okay. It's good. I'm figuring it out. I'm getting better here. Steven, trying to figure it out with the phone stream. This way, when it happens again, I'm ready. I'm ready. Worst case, we can throw it over to Dusty. You can do some splits. You can talk about how big of a Tar Heel fan he is. And then that'll entertain everybody for hours. So yeah, Dusty, I think that's aside from the values and all those things like that you're already gonna suss out, you do have to make sure that you can duke it out with this person and get to the best answer. Because the best answer is somewhere between your idea and their idea. But only level heads will allow you to get there. Otherwise, you'll end up going with one, and then somebody's sad or something. Can they move on from a decision? That's another big issue. Is not holding that and then being the "I told you so" person. Like that doesn't do any good. So we as a group, we as a leadership group, have to make that decision together. And while you might not love it, everyone has to be able to see the logic behind the choice. And if they can see the logic behind the choice, then again, they might not love it, but they can put A and B together and understand that the appropriate answer is C. So that's all I ever try and do when having to make a hard, controversial decision, is making sure that when I share the direction with the team, I have solid logic lined up about how I or we ended up making that choice. Because if you're leading engineers, logic always wins. Again, not everybody's going to like it. And you're never going to be able to get to a position where you're making a decision that everybody likes, especially as your org grows. You get to 100 people, it's never going to happen. But if you can put that logic out in front of everybody, everybody can say, oh, okay. It sucks, but okay. So that's that. Anything else I can help you with there, Dusty? I wish I would have known. I would have worn my Dusty Road shirt. Oh, and is your kid like in college yet? Mine are old. Old. All right, friends. I am going to end the misery of trying to stream on a phone. I do not recommend live streaming on a phone. So, all right. Take care, everybody. And we'll see you next week, not on the phone. Ooh, dang, one. Ooh. Good luck, Dusty. Good luck. I got all teenagers, so all that stuff's over for me. But I got the teenage drama. All right. See everybody next week. Thank you. Take care.